Buddy, we're here today with Todd Tuckey of TNT Amusements. Tell us, Todd, how long has TNT Amusements been around?
Too long. Since 1979. That's when I got into the business, vending the games in stores. But the home sales didn't start until '84. That's when I started marketing the games directly to the homes.
And how did that begin? How that journey began?
At the time, I had a partner, and we were in big trouble. Games were not earning any money. We were not making any money where the machines were, and we were trying to figure out how we could pay bills. And I said, let's try to sell some of these games. So I lived on a busy road, Vree Road in Northeast Philly. A lot of traffic. It was actually a snow emergency route, to give you an idea how busy it was. So I rolled 3 games out front, including a yellow Pac-Man. I put a big cardboard sign on it, for sale. And boy, did people stop. We were shocked. So we started lining the games up and down my driveway. I have a very long driveway, and I ran cords from all different sockets in the house. At the high point of sales, I sold games from my driveway on the weekends for 4 months. We had as many as 90 games set up. Unbelievable. And then I cover them with tarp during the week, so in case it rained. So the machines were left outside, and then I blocked the end of the driveway with my car so nobody could roll a game off. I had 1 game stolen. But I realized how busy and what there was a market for these games. Now back then, I was buying from vendors because we ran out of games that we wanted to sell.
Right.
Black and white games like Star Castle and Space Invaders. I paid $25 a piece if they worked. And for color games like Tempest and Missile Command and Donkey Kong, I paid $100 a piece. So the vendors would pick out all the games that were stuck in their storage centers that they were paying rent on. They couldn't find locations. Nobody wanted these games in '84. The locations wanted the newest game or nothing. And your locations were down to almost 0. So the vendors would drop off 15 games a day. They'd bring a truck, unload it, I'd pay them cash, they'd drive out, and in a week, all those games were used, most of them were sold. We took them right to people's homes. No warranty, no cleanup. I mean, let's face it, we wiped them off, we plugged them in, they worked, did nothing to them. Of course, we didn't really have to at that time. Space Invaders was only 5 years old.
Yeah, they weren't 10, 20, 30 years old.
There was no such thing as replacing T-molding or overlays. I mean, that was history.
And this was
especially for these prices.
This was the beginning of home ownership.
Well, that's when I realized that there was a market for home. So I started a showroom in my garage in December. I moved everything inside, and I had maybe 15 games on display. And in 2 years, I bought this building. So by 1986, I was operating out of a real storefront with a real showroom, which we're going to give you a tour of, too.
Oh, yeah. So what are some of the top-selling games of all time for you, Miss Pac-Man?
We've sold almost 400 Miss Pac-Man machines over the years. 400 of them. Now, as a matter of fact, here, come on up because we're going to give you a tour anyway. I'll take my coffee cup with me. If you watch my videos, you know I drink a lot of coffee. This is our customer. We started off with 1 little Rolodex, and now we have 5 spools of customers. So there's over 12,000 people listed here. So the card, now this man called today for service, Dominic. He bought a triple strike and a laser ball. The triple strike in 1998, laser ball in 01. He needs us out to do a repair. He just called. So 13 years later, we're still fixing them.
And so do you see the popularity of homeownership growing? Is it just every single year it's grown? And
it grows. Here's the deal with homeownership. There was a time when people would fill the whole house with games.
Okay.
We still have those collectors that do that. Now, most people want 1 or 2 games. They already have a home system, but they have an extra room in the house. The extra room, the dining room. Think about it.
Yes.
Nobody uses the dining room.
I've seen that. I went to look at a game for sale, and he had 2 in his dining room area. His girlfriend or wife probably endured it for a while. I don't know.
Before they dumped him.
Probably, yeah. And then he had no money and no pinball. I mean, come on. You got rid of your pinball to keep them, then they dump you. Winning. But yeah, that's a space that's never really utilized. And I know collectors who have, they open the door, games, around the living room, and then like maybe one in there, and it's unutilized space. You don't you don't have your office in your kitchen.
That's right. Things have changed. Now, what we have found is the game room used to have a pool table in it and a couple of games. But now we found that people are taking the game rooms and they're making them into theaters.
Right.
Without the game.
Right.
So that's been another one. Oh, look, I'll show you this. Customer came in, two men. They're buying this as a wedding present. And we're supposed to deliver today. Their very own pinball machine. I sure hope his new wife, likes pinball. Oh, did you want to come back to the... Yeah, let me show you the shop real quick. Noisy as it is. We're always working on games. Right here, dig dug boards. Frank is going through, we're getting a bunch of dig dug boards working, then we're going to have a bunch of parts boards, and then we're going to be selling the dig dug boards. We needed one for a dig dug we're working on, so we figured why not work one? Here's a fun house, it's almost ready. Boy, this one took a lot of time. We're putting the new ramps on it now. And we have two special forces that we're working on now. Actually, two. Can you believe two at the same time? It's such an obscure game, and we're doing two. Tony here is working on a Star Trek Next Generation and an Attack from Mars. But look, here's a classic, Galaxian. It's a pretty ugly classic. This side art will have to be replaced. That's too bad. Wallace is working. Are you doing anything at all, Wallace? He loves it when I fool with him. He's doing a new Tempest overlay. So we have a Tempest going out, so we have to change the overlay on that. So as you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on. Here's an asteroid. We just finished this, but we haven't done the electronics yet. This Citron Environmental. When people have been watching our videos, they've been seeing that thing sitting for the longest time. We're dragging our feet. Anyway, come on back up front to the showroom, because you'll be able to hear me better. The fans, the back part is somewhat air conditioned. We have a vent there, and the fans carried around. Here's some neat games here. An AC/DC customized. Look, has a little monitor in it. We actually bought it this way. A collector didn't like it, and he traded it in. He didn't have it long. It's got the speakers that changed. I don't think he cared for the music track. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's got to be for the right person. And here's a jacks to open. That's extremely ugly. I see even the ball is stuck at the top. We haven't shopped it yet.
Yeah, it's leveling games is difficult.
No, it's probably sitting in a divot. Look at that. But see, what we'll do is we'll refurbish this playfield. Stephen will touch this up. It'll look like brand new when we're done. We have several jacks to open videos up on YouTube, so you can see how beautiful they look when they're done. I always tell people, I said, listen, you can't judge anything until you see the finished product. And we're just so busy with games. We just do them as they're ordered, literally.
And the prices aren't for as you see them. It's as a finished product.
Oh, it's a finished product, and with LEDs.
Yeah, with LEDs.
Now, if somebody doesn't want the LEDs, it's not a problem. We have a few people that just don't like the LED look. Now here's the funny thing. They usually don't like the LED look, but they said it's okay to put them in the back glass.
Ah, okay.
So we put them in the back glass. This one has white LEDs. We haven't done anything to the field yet. But by doing it back there, the paint on the back glass doesn't get overly warm.
Doesn't get heat.
So most people are agreeable. But the 44s do have a softer look. So what we've done is we've stopped buying cool white LEDs.
Okay.
And now we're buying warm white. Warm white have a softer look, but they're still LEDs.
And so the collector market, that's growing as well.
Oh, yes. People want certain games. And, the selection is limited. The nice thing, the really great thing is people are now discovering the hidden gems that everybody wants. Medieval Madness and Addams Family and Twilight. There's certain big top ones. And the collectors, sadly, have driven the prices out of the most common person affordability range, but it leaves wide open all the really great games, fun games, TX Sector, Robo Wars, games that are under $2,000 that are affordable.
that most people have never even seen or heard of anyway. So when they see it, they're going to connect with one of them.
Well, the people walk through the front and they say, I did my research. I want to see Circus Voltaire, Addams Family. And then I said, no problem. Addams Family, 7,000. Circus Voltaire is 7,500. Oh, well, I only wanted to spend 2,000. No problem. Let me show you the $2,000 games that were made the same year or the year before or 2 years after or 3 or whatever. And you get an affordable game that is just as much fun. It really is.
And what are the demographics of the people buying games the most? Is it baby boomer males or?
Oh, it's almost always a man.
Yeah.
Or a 20s or older teenager.
20s or older.
Not teenager. Beyond a
Generation X.
There's really no teenagers that are playing them like they should. When we do these private parties here at TNT Amusements, right now we have one for a camp. If you walk around and see what they're doing, they're mainly playing the video games. They'll try the pinball. The key to get somebody to play a pinball is to stand next to them and tell them what they need to do. Jacks to open. You got to start with the 2 jacks. Of course, I believe it or not, I actually got the brand new targets in here. But I said, you can hit anything you want, but nothing's going to happen until you get the 2 jacks down.
Yep.
But the nice thing about a digital game is if you get the 2 jacks, the lights will light up.
Right.
When the game comes back to you, if you're playing 3-4 players, the game will spot it. And you already got the jacks. You don't have to do that again.
Right.
Now you're working on the queens. And once the kids realize that and see that, you'd be surprised how interested they are. It's like, hey, wow, this is really great. This is like a video game, but a kinetic energy video game.
And so, I've been at shows and people stood at a game that didn't know what it was, or I hit the start button for them.
The flip buttons.
Yeah.
And they're just flip, flip, flip. I said, no, you don't flip both flippers at the same time. You time them. Flip, flip. Whatever you do. You know what? Just a little instruction is all that's needed. And if I have time, sometimes I'll go up front and tell them. I say, let me show you something about this game that's really clever. And after I leave, that kid will stay there for another 15 minutes playing it. And maybe I've lit a spark. And you know what? Pinball is growing because the manufacturers are growing. Look, we got the Wizard of Oz, this beautiful machine from Jersey Jack, and he's working on the Hobbit now. And we also have Spooky Pinball that's coming out with this fantastic game.
Yep, they're shipping it.
That's right. They started shipping. We have the Zeus, the Mount Olympus. That's coming out.
Predator.
The Predator. I just found out about the Predator maybe 2 months ago. I didn't even know they were making it. I mean, this is really great stuff because that's proof that people want pinball and people are looking for new titles. And people are rediscovering games. Royal Rumble, they closed it out. Nobody wanted it. It was a disaster. This game was actually a disaster. Sadly, for Data East. Now people are looking for it. They won't be looking for this one because we didn't put the balls in. This just came in. So I haven't gotten the balls put in the machine yet. We literally just put it in and folded the head up. This was a trade-in. We sold this in the year 2000. And they just traded it in. We'll go through the whole machine, clean it, and then, of course, we'll put the LEDs in it, and then this will be available again. That's something we offer that apparently nobody else will do. A guaranteed at least 50% trading credit. See? It's trying to alert you that it's here.
Jamming.
Yeah, we'll turn it off because too much sound. I don't want it to blot out my voice.
So when these games came out, some of these weren't hot. They're kind of, in the past few years, they've all garnered
people
some popularity.
Rediscovering
everything,
games.
All the games, huh?
Data East. I always thought Data East's best game was their first game, Laser Wars. I thought it was the best game they ever made, and the second best game was Time Machine. And they were obscure. I mean, you rarely see them now because people threw them out. Oh boy, I threw games out. I had to. Nobody wanted them. I threw out over 100 pinball machine bodies. I kept the heads with the glass and the boards. I couldn't. We were paying storage. There was no point in storing them anymore. Nobody was buying them. Why have 3 Sinbads if nobody wants them? Because there was a time in the 90s when nobody wanted pinball. They wanted video games.
So now, in recent time, you get a game, you know that somewhere there's a buyer for it. Is it at that point now? It's basically at that point now.
We would part a game out. We've reached a point where we had, I think at one point on our high point, we had 12 Genesis, Gottlieb Genesis, 12. 2 became parts machines. It was wonderful because we got some great parts off of those machines to help out the other 10. That happened with Special Force. These are our last 2 Special Forces, and I have one complete junk game. The cabinet's ruined, but then the cabinet's ruined in one game where it was maybe the back end was broken off or something, possibly fixable, but it gets to a point where you have to draw the line and say this game is not savable. And it's sad. You just can't bring every game back to life.
So, are there any games that you remember fondly growing up, or in the heyday of before you started selling them?
It didn't like that. It didn't like that. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's a rare one right here.
Yeah, this
Black
is
Sheep Squadron, made by Astro. Their one and only release. They licensed, we think, the boards from Bally Midway, and they sold this in the back of comic books and hobby magazines and popular signs.
Wow.
Make money, buy your own pinball machine and vend it. The good news is it was very dependable because it used the Bally system. Of course, it had the usual problems. The GI connectors burned up. So we have not done anything to help this game yet. Playfield's decent, but it has some flaking. But when we're done, this will be a really nice game.
Yeah, I've only seen it twice. I've seen it
Probably at a show.
Yeah, well, a collector. There's a group called the Pinball Asylum. They're all serious collectors.
And they, don't tell me they belong in an asylum.
No, not yet.
My wife thinks I do.
Not yet. They only own like 20, 30 games each, so they're not there yet.
Way to get to my my own personal collection. I have 100 games.
100.
100 games.
What was the first game that you bought, like pinball and video?
I still have it. The first pinball machine I ever bought was a Sega Gremlin Duel. It had Deep Scan 2 and Invinso in it. 2 games in one. 1979 color. I still have it. I kept it. I always loved the game, and I still have that. The first pinball machine, I'm going to say it was Power Play or Close Encounters. They were used. When I bought them, I got in the business in '79, and you could buy a used Power Play or Gottlieb Close Encounters. I had Lucky 7, for instance, used. I'm going to say used. They were around $600-700 from the distributor. Brand new pinballs were $13.99 and $14.99. The reason I know that is they closed out Tri-Zone when Gorgar came out to $12.99 for a brand new pinball machine. It was like $200 less than the regular price because they had Gorgar on the line. Gorgar was $14.99. Gorgar made a lot more money than Tri-Zone.
Right.
Because people wanted to hear it talk. Wow, this game talks.
You're well known for your widely popular YouTube channel.
Yes, yeah. People see me, they hear me. Sometimes I'm sitting someplace and people hear my voice and say, I just went to a diner last week, and the guy says, I know that voice. I was sitting there talking to the waitress, and he remembered the shows. We used to run an infomercial on local TV.
Right.
As a matter of fact, the show was on so long ago, I was asked to join the Broadcast Pioneers of Philadelphia. So I'm actually a member of the Broadcast Pioneers because I put on the cheapest produced infomercial in the whole country. I think our budget was $300.
How has YouTube helped your business?
Oh, YouTube is terrific. Terrific. Because the videos help people fix their games. We've discovered that if you put a YouTube video up that can teach somebody something,
right,
it'll get a lot more views than something just saying, yeah, I'm the greatest thing on earth or something.
Okay.
So now I put out a series called Todd's Tips. I'm kind of filtering them in because it does take time, even though these 5 to 10 minute videos look quick. It takes time to film and edit, add sound effects, add the right stuff that's funny, and put it in. We try to make this stuff funny. I got to keep people laughing. That keeps them watching. See?
Yeah.
Now, of course, we're trying still to get this reality show off the ground, and we have a lot of interest, but not enough. It's they're interested and they're not. They're interested and they're not. So it's still not off the ground yet. But the King of Arcades video may actually get a theatrical release. It's out on DVD now with Amazon. And Richie, the guy that made the movie, that stars in it, he got his whole interest and start in the hobby because of me. He tells you that in the video. He used to watch the old show.
and so at TNT Amusements, living is good.
Oh, yes.
What do you enjoy most about your operation and your work, your line of work?
I keep rediscovering games and the programming. It's fun to see the different things that the programmers have done, and you don't pick them up for a long time. You just don't see it. And the amount of effort that people put into some of this stuff, like Funhouse, for instance, it's a masterpiece, and I own my own Funhouse. I have one that we bought brand new, and it's been in my house the whole time. A masterpiece. I mean, there's just no other word to describe it. So, fun games like that are hard to find that are loaded with so many different things. But I still like other games that are older. Pinball, Williams Pinball. There's just nothing like it. The sound, the flow. It's like a good movie. The Wizard of Oz you watch over and over again because it's perfect. E.T., Jaws. I mean, why do you watch them over and over again? Because they're loaded with stuff. And the same is true with pinball machines. Even something as simple as Lucky 7. You can find some great stuff on that the programmers threw in, and you don't want to pick it up for a while. Did Miss Pac-Man, some people never knew that they programmed the Miss Pac-Man, the little, when you're gobbling and you're trying to eat, if they're chasing you, the monsters are chasing you, if they're not looking at you, if you fool them and make a turn real fast, and their eyes are looking in any other direction but at you, you'll pass right through them.
Wow.
You go right through them. And it happened while I was doing my latest Miss Pac-Man video. Was it Miss Pac-Man or Pac-Man? I just posted it about 2 weeks ago. If you look for the video, it actually happens. You can see it happen. It was programmed. It's not a flaw.
It's not a glitch.
They programmed it.
And
like, you can only kill you if he's looking at you. He's looking at you 99.9999% of the time.
And so, number one is that you enjoy all the nuances of arcade and
that's
pinball.
What I like the most. I think that's what I like the most. And I think the other thing that's a highlight for me, it's not actually playing the game. I can play this game, and I can tell you everything that's wrong with it in 5 minutes or less.
Yep.
I did a contest. They had a show out in Vegas, Fabulous Fantasies, and I won first place in the Twilight Zone. Find out what's wrong in 10 minutes. And I won second place for the mechanical. But the funny thing is with the Twilight Zone, we had to find 10 problems with it. The 2 problems I didn't find, I didn't think were problems. A Canadian quarter was in the coin mech.
Yep.
I considered that a problem.
Yep.
And the ground lug was cut off the plug you plug in the wall. I didn't think that was a problem. But when we got the machine was unplugged, so we were supposed to notice the ground lug was off.
Right.
But I got an extra point because I found a problem they didn't know about.
Ah.
So I got an extra point.
So you enjoy your work and the games.
I like finding out what's wrong, figuring out what the problem is. And now some of our guys in the back have discovered that. I let them go free on these games to figure